Hello everyone, my name is Daisy Mendez, and today we will be discussing the research presentation that I worked on for Mexico. I call it Las Raíces de México, also known as the Roots of Mexico. So I will provide a roadmap of the topics that I will be discussing today. First off, we will be talking about the history of Mexico, the religious orientation, the cultural values, the language, the nonverbal communication, and last but not least, I will be talking about the food. We will start off by talking about the history. And so the Mayans, the Toltecs, and the Aztecs were a huge part of Mexico's ancient civilization. For the Mayans, the religion for them was very influential, and it played a central role in their life. Altars were carved with significant dates for them. For the Toltecs, it influenced Mexico's cultural history, and they also performed human sacrifices to appease their gods. Lastly, we have the Aztecs, they were the last of Mexico's pre-Columbian native civilization. And according to History of 2018, it states that in 1427, these groups decided to ally. And their triple alliance conquered small cultures to east to west until the Aztecs empire spanned from Mexico to the Pacific Ocean to the Gulf of Mexico. And so the most historic event happened when the Spaniard Hernán Cortés invaded Mexico and the Aztecs. Montezuma thought that Cortés was a man sent by his gods, and so he opened the doors of like his empire, invited him over, but it turns out that when Cortés was on his way, he created new allies, and in the end he conquered and he called it New Spain. And just so you know, that area that was what is now known to be Mexico City, that's what used to be Tenochtitlan before what it is known as today, and that's where the Spaniard Hernán Cortés invaded. Next, I will be talking about the religious orientation, and so Catholicism is a very huge part of the Mexican culture, and so Virgin Mary, who is known to be an indigenous woman, is an important intercessor for the Mexican people. And when she first did her appearance, the symbols that she carried was that she was in front of the sun, and she was also stepping on top of the Crease moon, which means that she is powerful than the sun, moon, water, stars, anything like that, because the Aztecs, at some point, they used to believe that those were their gods, and so her main goal was to also get the Aztecs to believe in her because she's more powerful than that. And so in Mexico, the Basilica de Guadalupe is a very important temple that was created in her honor. And so seasons like Advent, Lent, and Easter are very important religious dates for Mexican people. And so, as I probably mentioned before, Mexicans take their faith very seriously. And according to Culture Atlas of 2020, the Basilica de Guadalupe is the most visited temple in pilgrimage every 12th of December. And so people do their pilgrimage, and sometimes they even, in order to like show repentance and to honor her, they do a pilgrimage, but they walk like on their knees all the way to the temple, and they do that just for her. And so a large majority of the Mexicans are still tied up to their faith, and they are very strong in their faith compared to other Latin American countries. Next, I will be talking about the cultural values. And so cultural values are very important because they help to regulate human behavior, and they help humans grow as an individual. And so I will be discussing the dimensions that we learned in class. So first off, we have collectivism, which is the responsibility to their culture. And so there's something called familialismo. And so according to History of 2018, it states that familialismo is known as a value of family over any personal or individual need. And so as a Mexican individual, family always comes first. And so sometimes you need to put aside your personal needs and focus more on family. Um, Next, we have uncertainty avoidance. And so for the Mexican people, time is money. And so their main goal is to progress. And they have quite an importance for precision and punctuality. Next, we have power distance. And they are reported to be as a higher power distance culture. Next, we have masculinity and femininity. And so for the masculine, they're considered to be more of a masculine society, so there's a lot of machismo that happens within the culture. And then for women, there's something called Marianismo, and so Marianismo also comes from the Virgin Mary because she's Maria, and so Marianismo also means that women are always dedicated to their households, and so they're like the heart of the household, and their main goal is to watch over the kids, do the cleaning, do the cooking, but they're always at home doing all like the household. They're just with their family all the time. And so for men, machismo, it means that they are known to be like the head of the house, and they have like the authority to take care of their family. This doesn't mean that he needs to like do like in a bad way, but this is more to protect the family, and that's why he is known to be the man of the house. Next, we have the time orientation and an emphasis on perseverance, prudence, and a long-term rewards. And then there's a prosperity to save for the future. And last, we have indulgence. The indulgence brings gratification to human need and an importance on leisure time. Next, we'll be talking about the language. So Spanish is the original language spoken in Mexico. And as it states on my presentation, it's the most spoken language. But then we have another 3 different languages, and sometimes these languages are misinterpreted to be I forgot what's it called. But they sometimes try to make it seem as they're like less superior than the Spanish language. But these are also oh yeah, I remember now. They're sometimes misinterpreted to be dialects, and they're not dialects because they are actual languages. And so that's the Nahuatl language, the Mayan, and the Mixtec. And so the Nahuatl language originated in the southwestern region of the U.S. and was later migrated into central Mexico. For the Mayan language, it's the most spoken language in the Yucatan Peninsula. And then the third, we have the Mixtec language, and this happened before the pre-Columbian, and so the language was later thrown down by the Spaniards. But this language is like most originated in the Oaxaca area, so that's more down further into Mexico. And so according to the World Atlas of 2019, the Nahuatl was the most important language. And for the Mayan language, according to the World Atlas of 2019, language originates from the Proto-Mayan 5,000 years ago, and it's a very old language. Next, I will be talking about the nonverbal communication in Mexico. So some of the physical contact is something like nudging your arm or elbow, and this means that it reinforces some of the points. Sometimes standing too close to each other it could be something good because this demonstrates trustworthiness and honesty. And then sometimes when you put your arms around someone else, it demonstrates appreciation. And then it could be misunderstood when you're when you're having a conversation and you are stepping away from the other person. This could be shown as rude or selfish. And then a nonverbal communication that sometimes is misinterpreted by people can be when you nod your head, and sometimes you just do it in respect because you are like listening to what they're saying. But sometimes people misinterpret it by understanding that you're like agreeing to the statement that they are saying. But just by nodding your head means that you're like listening to what the conversation that you are listening to. And so lastly, I will be talking about the food. And so the food is very important in Mexico. Here I have some images of tortillas. And tortillas comes from corn. And so corn is a very essential crop that Mexico owns because thanks to corn we can create so many dishes such as tortillas, such as enchiladas, and corn goes through a process of nixtamalization, and then from there you can create some delicious tortillas. And then from there as well, we can also create pozole. And then lastly, important topic that I mentioned in my research was chocolate, because chocolate is a precious gift that Mexico owns, and so it comes from a cacao tree. And then from there, this goes back to the ancient civilizations with the Aztecs, because they used chocolate to make a special drink, and that drink would be used in special occasions. I have some notes on that. And so, according to Cultural Survival of 2006, the maize, which is this one, is known in numerous places as the basic grain, and it's also the #1 crop to support people. And it's known to support people spiritually, physically, and economically. And so for chocolate, as I mentioned, it goes way back to our ancestors, and it is believed that chocolate was given, the Aztecs believed that it was given by their gods. And as I said, it's used as a special drink, but it was also used for currency and to buy other goods. And this was according to History of 2017. And this is all for my presentation. I really hope that you guys were able to learn something new about the culture of Mexico. And thanks for watching.